Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches, where today I'm going to be talking about the gonzo action escapades of 2007's Shoot 'em Up. And the film begins in a rough part of town, pretty much any town or any city, USA. And here we meet drifter and military veteran Smith, who sees a heavily pregnant woman fleeing from a hitman. There are two things that you need to know about Smith. The first is that he really likes carrots, and the second is that he's ludicrously deadly. He demonstrates the latter by killing the hitman and then using the woman's pistol, fighting off a gang of other thugs who are led by the maniacal and ruthless criminal Carl Hertz. The woman goes into labour mid-gunfight, forcing Smith to deliver the baby whilst fending off all of these killers. He does this successfully, but the woman is shot dead in the process, and Smith himself only narrowly escapes with the newborn, a baby boy. Smith's initial plan is to find a home for the kid and then forget the whole experience. But when Hertz and his goons keep chasing, Smith realises that the child is the actual target. So he recruits a prostitute named Donna, who specialises in lactation kink, as a wet nurse for the boy, who he names Oliver. I guess he doesn't approve of baby formula, or he needed another character to interact with. And the two of them begin the task of determining where Oliver comes from and why someone so desperately wants the child dead. Of course, they have to do this while continually dodging Hertz and his seemingly endless army of thugs, hoodlums and assassins. Hijinks and shenanigans will most definitely ensue. So Shoot 'em Up was quite the passion project for writer-director Michael Davis. He first conceived of this film after seeing a scene from John Woo's critically acclaimed action film Hard Boiled, which is a good movie, check it out, in which the protagonist rescues newborn babies from gangsters while engaged in a gunfight. Davis set out to write a script for an action film that focused on guns and was devoid of explosions. However, when he first started shopping the script around, the Columbine High School shootings were still quite recent and no studios wanted to take it on. In the following years, Davis put together an animatic of the script's action sequences. An animatic is an extension of the storyboarding stage of movie production, intended to give an idea of how the scene will look and feel with motion and timing included. And Davis initially began this process as a hobby, but ultimately the animatic became part of his pitch for the script and was a major factor of the film finally being greenlit by New Line Cinema. So this was a real labour of love to get the movie made. But that didn't mean that it met with the same love once it came out. Critical response was generally good, but those that disliked it really disliked it. One critic called it a worthless piece of garbage, and Shoot 'em Up failed to even recoup its budget at the box office, let alone reach the sort of 2 to 2.5 times budget that they really need to be considered successful. Now, I personally enjoyed the film a lot, but I can understand why not everyone did, so let's unpack it a little bit further. So, first of all, I became aware of this movie when a then work colleague talked about this terrible film that she'd watched on the weekend, and no one who knows me would be surprised to hear that I took that assessment of the movie as a personal challenge and borrowed the DVD from her. Yes, this was back in the days of DVDs. And on the following day, I asked her, "You do realise it was a send-up, right?" And her reply was, "Oh, I did wonder if it was supposed to be funny or serious." To which I pointed out, the hero stabs a guy in the head with a carrot. And this carrot-based killing happens about 3 minutes in, by the by, and it is far from the first pretty obvious sign that this is not a film that is meant to be taken seriously. It's also far from the last sign. There's a scene later on where Smith is attacked by gunmen while in the middle of having sexual intercourse, and he kills them all without ever stopping what he's doing. In other words, this is a very silly movie. One that does, as I have very deliberately noted on your screen, it's not a typo, it goes over the top. If you go into the film expecting a serious action thriller or even a more standard degree of action movie excess, you might well come away disappointed by how utterly ridiculous the ensuing 80 minutes actually are. Shoot 'em Up is to gunplay what the Fast and the Furious franchise is to car. Pure fantasy where the protagonist essentially has superpowers with their favoured device. In Smith's case, it's guns. In Dominic Toretto's case, it's cars. Now, Davis gave the leading role of Smith to Clive Owen, which is a pretty safe choice. Owen already had multiple credits as a taciturn action hero type. In Davis's selection of the primary antagonist, however, the director made a far more bold selection. He explicitly chose to cast the role of Hertz, and Yeah, that's Hertz, not Hurts, but I'm sure the phonetic overlap was entirely intentional, against type. So instead of choosing the stereotype of a physically imposing villain, he gave the nod to the medium height, not especially athletic looking Paul Giamatti, an actor whose prior work, while all excellent, had generally involved portraying intellectual, erudite types. Yeah, several of those characters were cantankerous and misanthropic, but their weapons were words, not Smith & Wessons. Davis believed that Giamatti had the range to pull off the role, and for my money, the actor repaid that faith in full. He depicts the dementedly villainous Hertz with manic glee, creating an adversary that, for my money, is one of the most entertaining elements of the film. But you don't have to just take my word for it, though. In 2011, Empire magazine named the role as one of Giamatti's top 10 best characters to that point. So, Shoot 'em Up is an extremely high-octane, intensely paced film. It is essentially back-to-back-to-back-to-back-to-back-to-back action sequences, with nary a moment to take a breath between them. The script sets and maintains a breakneck pace that even some positive reviews have suggested might become a bit exhausting. Fortunately, Davis seems to have recognised that audience fatigue could set in, and unlike a lot of more recent action films, which show a tendency towards what are, in my opinion, somewhat bloated runtimes, he has kept Shoot 'em Up at a very lean 86 minutes, which, when you allow for opening and closing credits, probably means only about 80 minutes of actual movie. And this was definitely the right call. Now, make no mistake, there will be some people for whom 8 minutes of this movie is too many, let alone 80. And that's perfectly okay. There are very few bad reasons to dislike a film, though, for the record, It's Too Woke is definitely one of them. And Shoot 'em Up will absolutely not be to all tastes. But if you do enjoy the opening few minutes, you should be able to buckle in with confidence that the movie is not going to outstay its welcome. Next time, I feel like it's time for some film noir, so we're going to look at Alimony from 1949. But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.